International Pancake Day took a dark turn. The scent of maple syrup and frying butter usually calmed me. Not today. Today it churned in my stomach like a bad premonition. Harrow Creek's International Pancake Day, a tradition stretching back, well, nobody really knew how far back. Generations was the standard answer. Generations that whispered secrets I was starting to understand and desperately wished I didn't. Martha hummed along to the oldies station as she whisked the batter. Caleb, all elbows and enthusiasm, hovered begging to crack an egg. He was unusually fixated on the pancakes this year, his eyes gleaming with an almost unsettling eagerness. "Careful, champ," I said, trying to keep my voice light. "Don't want any shells in the mix." He giggled, a sound that usually warmed me but today felt amplified, echoing strangely in the small kitchen. Harrow Creek took Pancake Day seriously. The whole town descended on the square, a chaotic tapestry of checkered blankets and folding chairs. The air thrummed with anticipation, the sizzle of the giant griddle drowning out snippets of conversation. Mayor Bartlett, all smiles and backslapping, made a speech about community and tradition. It rang hollow even to me, and I'd usually just roll my eyes. The first bite was off, earthy, almost fungal. I glanced at Martha, but she was already halfway through her pancake, a blissful smile on her face. Caleb was devouring his, practically inhaling them. He looked vibrant, too vibrant. "Good right, Dad," he mumbled, his mouth full. "Yeah," I managed, forcing a smile. "Good, but it wasn't, it was wrong." The feeling grew throughout the day, a subtle shift in the town's atmosphere. People were agreeable, too agreeable. The usual arguments over parking spaces and whose lawn chairs were encroaching on whose territory were absent. Instead, everyone smiled, nodded, and offered to help. It was Stepford-esque, unnerving. By evening, the unease had solidified into a knot of dread in my gut. I couldn't shake the feeling that something fundamental had changed. I tried to talk to Martha, but she just brushed it off. "You're just stressed, Elias. It's been a long week." Her eyes lacked their usual warmth, her smile too fixed. That night I couldn't sleep. I tossed and turned, haunted by fragmented images, the strange taste of the pancakes, Caleb's unsettling enthusiasm, the too bright smiles of the townsfolk. I slipped out of bed and went to my study, the room where I kept my collection of local folklore and historical documents. The Journal of Jedediah Thorne, my great-great-grandfather, caught my eye. He'd been considered a crackpot in his time, obsessed with the old ways and the whispers beneath the soil. I always thought he was just eccentric, but now, I flipped through the brittle pages, my fingers tracing the faded ink. His entries about the Pancake Day tradition were disturbing. He wrote of a communion, a joining, a sacrifice to appease the hunger below. He described the rare fungus, the Clavaria fames, that grew only in the Blackwood Forest, its spores capable of inducing a state of heightened suggestibility and communal consciousness. My blood ran cold. I had to talk to Old Man Hemlock. He lived in a dilapidated cabin on the edge of the Blackwood, a recluse rumored to know more about Harrow Creek's history than anyone else. Most people considered him crazy, but I knew he wasn't. He was just attuned. The drive to Hemlock's cabin felt like traversing a nightmare. The woods were eerily silent, the trees looming like skeletal figures. The air hung thick with an unnatural stillness. Hemlock sat on his porch, whittling a piece of wood. His eyes, usually clouded with age, were sharp and knowing. "You know, don't you?" he rasped without preamble. I nodded, my throat tight. "The pancakes, the fungus," he sighed, a sound like rustling leaves. "The hunger below stirs, Elias. It always does come Pancake Day. The town forgets generation after generation. They think it's just a tradition, a fun little festival, but it's more than that. It's a feeding." He explained that the fungus acted as a conduit, amplifying the town's collective will and channeling it into a single, potent energy source. This energy, in turn, fed the entity that resided beneath Harrow Creek, an ancient, shapeless being that thrived on conformity and obedience. "It wants to consume them all, Elias. Turn them into puppets dancing to its tune." "How do we stop it?" I asked, my voice trembling. "The source," he said, his gaze unwavering. "You have to destroy the source. The griddle, the original recipe, and the largest concentration of the fungus. Destroying the griddle and the recipe was easy enough. They were kept in the town hall under lock and key. The mayor, however, was a different story. He was completely altered. His eyes were glazed, his movements robotic. He spoke in platitudes about unity and progress, his voice devoid of any genuine emotion. He tried to stop me, of course, accused me of vandalism, of being a danger to the community. But I managed to overpower him, smashing the griddle and burning the recipe in the town square. That left the fungus. The Blackwood Forest was a labyrinth of shadows and twisted trees. The air was thick with the cloying scent of decay. I followed Hemlock's directions, venturing deeper into the woods than I ever thought possible. Finally, I found it, clearing bathed in an unnatural luminescence. In the center stood a grove of Clavaria fames, glowing with an eerie, phosphorescent light. The air thrummed with a palpable energy, a feeling of wrongness that made my skin crawl. As I reached for my lighter, I heard a voice. Dad, Caleb stood at the edge of the clearing, his eyes wide and unblinking. He was holding a basket filled to the brim with the glowing fungi. "What are you doing here, son?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. "Making pancakes," he said, his voice flat and emotionless for everyone. He stepped forward, offering me the basket. "Want one, Dad? They're delicious." I stared at him, my heart shattering. He was gone. My son was gone, replaced by something else. "Caleb, listen to me," I pleaded. "This isn't you. This isn't right." He tilted his head, his eyes still vacant. "It is now, Dad. We're all together now." Suddenly, Martha appeared behind him. Her face was serene, her eyes filled with a chilling emptiness. "Join us, Elias," she said, her voice soft and persuasive. "It's wonderful. We're all one." They advanced on me, their movements slow and deliberate. I knew what I had to do. I lunged forward, knocking Caleb aside and grabbing the basket of fungi. I poured gasoline on the grove, my hands shaking. Martha screamed, a high-pitched, inhuman sound. I lit the match. The flames erupted, consuming the fungi in a blinding inferno. The clearing filled with a thick, acrid smoke. Martha lunged at me, her nails digging into my face. I pushed her away, my heart breaking with every movement. As the flames roared, I saw a vision, a glimpse of the entity that dwelled beneath Harrow Creek, a shapeless, writhing mass of darkness feeding on the town's collective consciousness. It was vast, ancient, and terrifying. Then it was gone. The flames died down, leaving behind a smoldering wasteland. Martha and Caleb collapsed to the ground, their eyes slowly regaining their focus. The drive back to town was silent. Martha and Caleb were exhausted, confused. They remembered nothing of what had happened in the forest. The town was quiet. The unsettling conformity had vanished, replaced by a sense of bewilderment and shame. People were slowly returning to their normal selves, but there was a lingering unease in the air, a sense that something had been lost. The mayor was arrested, charged with corruption and abuse of power. He babbled incoherently about unity and the greater good, but no one listened. Life in Harrow Creek slowly returned to normal, but I knew that nothing would ever be the same. I saw the fear in Martha's eyes, the lingering confusion in Caleb's. I knew that the entity was not truly gone, merely dormant, waiting for the next opportunity to feed. I spent my days researching Harrow Creek's history, searching for a way to prevent the hunger below from ever rising again. I became obsessed, driven by a desperate need to protect my family and my town. One evening, Caleb came into my study. He was holding a drawing. It was a picture of a pancake, but it was different. It was larger than any pancake I had ever seen, and it seemed to pulse with a faint inner light. "Dad," he said, his eyes wide with innocent curiosity, "can we make pancakes tomorrow?"